Cappies, oh my Cappies, I hope that y'all are doing well. Welcome to Vivid Vibration. My name is Christina. Cappies, we have the Eternal Child, the Mystic, the Village, the Stone, the Pilgrim, the Kiss, and the Self. Whew. Cappies, I kind of want to say that you're anchored in yourself. And I love the idea of this. The Stone card really speaks to the idea of of being an anchor, and that no matter how far we float down the river, we're still anchored in the spot that we started at, right? So we can come back to ourselves. We cannot get lost along the way. Even though we might stray, we come back. And I feel like there's an idea of straying from yourself, and making decisions on behalf of people who were limiting your own personal development and growth, however that plays out for you, but just kind of this idea of coming back to yourself. And then when you do come back to yourself, just almost this childlike enthusiasm of oh, wow, if I've come back to myself, what can I do now? Children don't look at the world, and healthy children who had the opportunity to, be in healthy environments don't naturally have an inclination of the world is out to get me, right? They have an innocence and a purity in the way that they approach life, right? Because it's just kind of you're figuring it out. You're learning things as you go. What new thing will you find when you open the next door? You know what I mean? There's just this level of excitement that I feel you almost feel more comfortable in being excited in that, because you're not experiencing this peer pressure of well, why would you want to do that? Or why would you want to do this? Or, you know what I mean? Just kind of almost they're just raining on your parade. You know what I mean? And then anchoring back into yourself, and then reigniting this excitement that you have. Because the mystic is the idea of the psychic, the seeing that which cannot be seen. And I almost feel there's an idea here that you're being opened up to see things that you hadn't seen before. And there's something very exciting about that to you that you've maybe avoided in the past because you felt it wasn't as acceptable, or it wasn't very cool, or it wasn't very whatever. And then journeying to really engage in intimacy that feels pure, because it feels what everybody else says, be damned, I'm going to do it for me, right? Born alone, we die alone. I might as well live my life for myself. And I know what excites me. And I know that there's more than what meets the eye. And I want to figure that out for myself. So my Cappies could be taking trips. Okay. Let's see what else we can get for my Cappies. Oops. There's a whole stack of cards. Oh, it's hot. Okay. We have the Ten of Wands, the Ten of Swords, the Hanged Man, the Seven of Pentacles, the Five of Swords, and the Knight of Pentacles. I do kind of feel there's just, you're seeing things a little bit differently. Because there is an idea, sometimes we're in the village, and so when people say things to us oh, well, I don't know, I live in a rig. People are why would you live that way? You know what I mean? And I'm well, because I want to. You know what I mean? I'm happy. Why would I choose to live in an environment that might fit your box, but I'm miserable in it? You know what I mean? But I almost feel like you were trying to fit in the box of the community for so long that you didn't even realize that that judgment that you felt, the people who were on the outside of that felt that judgment too, right? It's kind of this idea of your own limitations feel limiting to people who are already making those decisions. And it's well, if you're thinking that this is bad and you are hesitating about it, then doesn't that mean that you feel the same way that they do? Otherwise, why would you stop and question it? You know? But I feel like there's an idea here of like, okay, maybe you stopped and you questioned it, but you were able to see things very differently, in a broader way that I want to say expanded your idea of community. Almost like the idea of like something that would limit your community has now expanded it. And moving forward, the Knight of Pentacles is a lot of times, like an offer, like a job offer or something like that, a gift, of just, I almost kind of feel like an apology. Like, I'm sorry for putting that on you. But let's see what else we get for my Cappies. And you can be on either side of the story. It could be that, somebody was passing judgment against you and you were just kind of like, well, I don't know how I feel about that because, like how, if that's how you feel about it, then why are you even talking to me? The Fortune Fairy, the Magician, the Star, and Strength. I do feel like it was difficult. It's like a difficult decision for you to make, but once you make it, you're ready to like create something entirely new and bring healing and step into your power. Because the Star in this card is the idea that like there's no limitation, like just like the world is there for the taking, and I feel like you're ready to like kind of go out there and like take on the world and experience the abundance that follows accordingly because you decided to not limit yourself. I was reading this thing the other day, and I mean, Cappies are always like very hardworking and like the goat, and you would think that Cappies would be like the most successful zodiac sign, but they're not. And usually it's because they get hung up in like being successful in one area, and then they limit that, so they don't pursue like the development of it. They're like, I climbed this mountain, so I don't need to do all these other things. And so like while they're usually very successful, they're also kind of limited. And I feel like there's an idea of like, I mean, the King of Cups in this deck is very emotionally detached. And I almost feel like you had to like emotionally detach from something to feel like you were making like a clear decision, because I mean, when we let our emotions get involved, we can be swayed. And then if we're swayed because of our emotions, then, like we'll let things slide that we wouldn't otherwise normally let slide. And you know what I mean? And I feel like there's just this, like, am I making the right decision? And, like I need to really figure this out. Like I feel like that's just kind of the energy here, Cappies. But it feels like you have made it a very, very big decision to, move toward, I want to say, allowing for intimacy that you had emotionally detached from previously. Okay, Cappies. The Healer. Yeah, because you're like, that needs to be taken care of. That needs to be tended to. That needs to be healed. I feel like there's an idea of like, that's not okay. And that needs to be fixed. And acknowledging why it happened in the first place and how it was limiting, and then taking the steps to correct it. I love that, Cappies. I hope this resonates with y'all. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Please give me a like, share, and subscribe if it does, and I will see y'all again soon. Bye.